we're using the Moonchild Tarot Deck today. And I have already chosen 2 cards. So this is card number 1. If you would like to take a moment to read into the energy of each of the cards, card number 1, card number 2, and you can determine what's a good fit for you, what you are most drawn to. So number 1. And number 2. And you can just throw a 1 or a 2 in the chat if you notice any sort of energetic difference as I show one card versus the other. And it's just a really quick, easy way to practice. So this is number 2. So I'm just going to show them one more time, and then I'm just going to dive right into the readings. So if you're not familiar with my workflow, I keep the cards face down. I read intuitively to forecast, and then I will flip them over. This is card number 1. See, we have some 1s and a 2 in the chat so far. This is number 2. I'm getting a quick change. It feels shifty. Is that, I don't know how positive. It doesn't have to be negative. It just feels like things are moving a lot. The whole shifty piece, it's like the discourse is changing, like the conversation is changing, the topics are changing. How we're feeling about things are changing as well. So like our perspective is shifting, not only on just what's coming in, but just like how we're thinking and feeling about things that are very personal to us. It doesn't necessarily, I know I was saying something about like the collective. So it's like the conversation is changing in the collective, but then the thing that we are shifting our perspective on is very personal for how we are operating and processing things. So it's like 2, but it just come across like it is a sequence. So they're connected to each other, but it's not a cause and effect. The latter half of the week is when we solidify more that perspective shift. So it could be starting any time now, but we lock in, like we kind of come to our conclusion on it after seeing all of the variables shifting and changing throughout the week. All right, so we have the sun. As you can see, there's 2 ladies on here. They're in a field with a gigantic sun, huge rays. They are each holding flowers, and they are spinning around in circles, dancing. The energy behind the sun card, it's all about the self and authenticity. And in some ways, it can be about a celebration too, but I tend to associate this card with just being authentic. So pairing that with what we've just been talking about is we have some sort of shift in how we are choosing to navigate, choosing to process. It is something that is internal that then is helping us to be more aligned, more true. I'm remembering I did mention something about questioning. Yeah, so it's like throughout the week, it's like we're questioning kind of what is happening and what is going on. But then by the end, we can be true, aligned, authentic, and very clear. Reading 1 for the week ahead, it's a process. That feels like the main label for it is this is about stuff that is in process and about how we are processing. So process is the main keyword, the buzzword for the first reading. Our patience is being tested. That's what came through right away. Questioning of the universe, like, why is this happening to me in general? We're not in a fog. We are not angry or distraught or anything. We're just like the prominent state of being is just like, huh? Bewilderment. That's like the vibe, because it's why, but in such a profound way, like No, but really, like, why? Like, I want to understand. I like how this week we're getting keywords, because normally I don't have that we're getting labeled, but we definitely have that for both of these, regardless of the actual events happening and whether in the moment they feel like they are similar to the first reading, positively or negatively charged. It's just about how we are receiving the events. Okay, now I see why. That's hilarious. All right, so what we got is the star. For anyone's reference who's not familiar with tarot, one, I do have a workshop that is free that you can download from the shop on my website to learn a bit of the overview, really quick breakdown of what's tarot, what are oracle cards. But the sun, card number 1, and the star, card number 2, are both in what's called the major arcana. So these are really big themes, concepts, ideas, and part of the narrative. The idea behind this card is it's a connection to the cosmos. So the whole messaging that came in about, I'm wondering why, I'm asking the universe why. When I see this card and when I pull it for myself, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm particularly affected by the astro weather, like something going on astrologically, or you're thinking about kind of what's happening. I just want to mention, like, there is a card that's the world or the universe. So that is a little bit different, but this is very much the cosmos. Like, what is happening? How is everything aligning or syncing up? And I think that really translates well for wondering about the cause and effect. Why are certain things happening? A sudden gust, it feels profound. So whatever it is, there's some sort of an event, there's something that happens, and then this card is capturing our response to that. So the timing of that event is inherently a surprise. So for each person, it could happen at a different day, at a different time, but the surprise, the unexpected, the shock, the unraveling occurs. And then you're in this state of asking these profound questions. Why me? Why this? So yeah, it's just kind of the 1-2 of the event, the thing. So it's not like, it depends on what the actual event is. It depends on how you are processing it. Like, do you get an answer when you ask the question? And I think for some people, it depends on what the thing is, because maybe that question could also be asked or directed to a specific person or resource. And then you can get all the clarity that you need. Wonderful. But it also might not be the case. It could be something that is then ongoing, or it just takes you a longer time to process it. It depends on the severity, and it depends on where you're at, the position you're in to be able to receive and understand it, or to accept the answers that you get to your big, profound questions. Can be limited to just this week. Seems like for most people, some of it drips into next week. And then for other people, if it's particularly difficult or you're having an especially hard time processing and navigating, that it could be many weeks or even a couple months. Whatever it is that occurs, the impact of it is fully dependent on you. If you have been through a lot of challenges in life, then you could be like, oh, I've seen this before. I've dealt with this before. Or maybe it's frustrating to see it or deal with it again, but you have the tools, you have the ability to navigate through it. So I do want to iterate to people a mantra that I was taught and I think is particularly useful and really shifted a lot for me, which is the universe is not working against me, it's working for me. the universe has my back. If we're shifting our perspective and shifting which sounds a lot like reading number 1, shifting our perspective on that locus of control, we can return the control to ourselves and say, okay, well, what's the thing that I can do? Or we can ask the question, why is this happening? And maybe instead of that question being existential, oh my gosh, why is this happening? Is we can ask, so why is this happening? And the undercurrent of that question is, what lesson am I supposed to be learning? What is illuminated for me from this situation? If there's a reason that this is happening again, is there something that I could be course correcting? Is there a different route that I could be taking? Is this a test for me to show that I've learned the lessons? So that is all attached to some of these questions. And again, the nature of these was not existential, like, oh my gosh. We're just asking them, and it's important to ask questions and try to get some sort of understanding. So hopefully that clarifies, because again, it's not supposed to be like something traumatic happens and then we're like, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. That was not the energy that came in for this card. So hopefully that clears up any visceral reaction that people had to that reading. So for our first reading, the language that came through was quick change, and it was a shifting energy. One, because the discourse, conversations, things happening in the collective, what is it that people are talking about, thinking about, discussing, that is shifting multiple times throughout this week. And then related but unrelated, we, by the end of this week, are shifting our internal perspective, our perspective on something that is personal to us. So it doesn't have to be I'm responding to events that are happening in the public, in the collective, but you could have some food for thought moments based on what you are seeing, what you are hearing. So shifting something internally by changing your perspective on it and considering how it is that we are processing our reality and things that are happening. I'm realizing now is what I just said kind of on this discourse in our chat is maybe reading number 1 especially relates, because part of it is like shifting a perspective on ourselves and how we're processing reality, what is happening to us or not. So if you're someone who's feeling particularly down or defeated, then there's the lesson there in that first reading that is specifically highlighting that. So by day 6 or 7, so depending on your time zone, that's when we get to the point of having more clarity. We have the sun, which is about our authenticity. So by the end of this week, we have shifted something about how we are processing, how we are understanding ourselves in relation to reality. We are connecting more to our authentic selves, and also checking on, reflecting on our ego. The sun in astrology represents the ego. And we actually had a key word that came in for the week of process. So it's thinking about the process, thinking about how we are processing, or that things are in progress, all of the above. And then for reading number 2, our patience being tested. We are questioning the universe. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening in general? There's a sense of bewilderment that is happening. We're pondering, we're questioning, we're wondering, we're looking to connect the dots, we're looking to understand. And this is in direct response to some sort of surprise, change, shift, undoing, something that pops up. And then we are in direct response to that event, asking ourselves questions like, what does this mean? Why is this happening? Because we're trying to understand that in the context of everything happening in our lives or in our personal history or just within ourselves. It's not necessarily a negative thing or a positive thing. It could be something that's neutral. It could be on either end of the scale. It's going to vary depending on the person. And what's most important is how you are processing, similar to that first reading, how you are reacting to that event. So I'll just show the card here. We have the Star, which is about connecting to the cosmos, trying to understand. And depending on the event, depending on your reaction, this energy could just be occurring this week. I got that most people, it might drip a little bit into next week. And then for others, if you are particularly struggling, as in you are not working through this energy, asking the right questions, getting the resources, assistance, support, or accepting the answers that you get by the end of this, then it could be something that you are then dealing with for several weeks or up to a couple months. Similarities between these, I think, are pretty straightforward. One of them being that they both have some component of ourselves in relation to the external. So for the first reading, it was there's conversation, there's things that are happening, and then separately, we're trying to process something for ourselves, related or unrelated. So there's something external that's happening and then something internal that's happening. For the second reading, there's some sort of event that occurs that's outside of your control. And then you are having your own journey of processing that and understanding it. So both of them have that component baked in. Of course, they had different qualities, characteristics, and features of the things that are happening. First one was conversations, discussions, information exchange. The second one is some sort of one-off event that occurs. And the other thing I want to know, just symbolically, we have the sun and we have a star, and obviously the sun is considered a star. So I think us having these two kind of bright lights, and then we have very different responses to them. So for our first reading, on the other side of it, we know that when we get there, we're going to be more authentically ourselves, more free, more aligned. And then for the second reading, we're having to kind of get down in it. So we are the water bearer in this situation. And for people's context, that is Aquarius. It's very intellectual. It wants to understand. It wants to figure out systems, build better systems, innovate, do things a little bit differently. And it would want to ask the questions. Because she is in the water, she is kneeling in the water, that has to do with emotions as well. So we're connecting the mind, we're connecting the emotions, we're connecting it to the cosmos, to what is happening around us in a pretty profound way. Can you do these or experience these at the same time? It's coming across like yes, because maybe there's something that's being discussed that is cropping up that has you thinking, processing, in process. How can I be more authentically aligned? And maybe part of your journey to figure out what is authentic is because you're asking questions about stuff that you're seeing. So you're hearing things, you're seeing and experiencing things, you're asking the questions, you get to those answers, and you use that to inform what your authentic self is. So these feel like they're not a one goes into two, it's that they could fold into each other. They could completely intersect, kind of in a blender all over the place. So you're either just in one, you're just in two, or you're in the blender of both.